of the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill 2024. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, the current state of the nation.
The Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I plead that we defer this motion like we had requested. Yeah, that's part of the reason we are deferring. Mr. Speaker, I was waiting for Professor Anyang' Nyong'o's friend.
Majority Leader, just approach the chair, please.
Mr. Speaker, you understand the unique nature in which we have dealt with this motion, that there are few members who haven't spoken to it, and we have been granting them an opportunity as leadership still consults on the final recommendations. I suspect that there may be members in the House, Mr. Speaker, who are willing and haven't had an opportunity to speak, save for Senator Kinyo, who will move the amendments, Mr. Speaker. If there are any such members, Mr. Speaker, then I want to humbly request that you allow them to make the contribution. Then we still suspend the motion until we conclude now as a leadership and move the final recommendations. Mr. Speaker, that's my request to you.
Senator Tom Ojenda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to contribute to the motion on the state of the nation, and coming after the contributions by the Leader of Majority and the Leader of Minority and several senators from this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to reiterate that this is a time when His Excellency President Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, must stand up and be counted to make Kenya what it is and to do those things, Mr. Speaker, sir, that will define this nation as a nation that belongs to all the people of this country. To define this nation, Mr. Speaker, sir, as a nation that is not just made up of two communities, that must, Mr. Speaker, sir, reflect the face of every community in this country. Mr. Speaker, it is a time for inclusivity, a time to ensure that all those in the peripheries of this nation who feel that they have been left out of the governance structure of this nation are brought into the framework that will steer this nation going forth. Mr. Speaker, a time that those groups, either the Gen Zs or other groups, however they define themselves, Mr. Speaker, sir, must be brought into governance. And, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are here to support His Excellency the President. Mr. Speaker, I have a history and I've been on record as being one of those members of Parliament who have supported and stood with government. And that, Mr. Speaker, is what I intend to continue to do. But, Mr. Speaker, with a tinker, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the leader of my party, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, has seen the need, Mr. Speaker, sir, to work with government with a view, Mr. Speaker, sir, to stabilizing this government. Because this government, Mr. Speaker, sir, serves every citizen of this country. And when my good friend, the Senator from Migori, Eddie Mwok, spoke to me 3 days ago, on the possibility of my party, the ODM, moving in the direction of government, I told him that that is the right thing to do. I told him that's the right thing. I know he will. He knows that that is the right thing, and that I believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, that my party.
Order, Senator Ojenda.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddy, there is. Just have a seat. Senator Ojenda, just have a seat. Before this motion was processed, the leadership sat and agreed to basic House rules. And one of those rules were that there shall be no points of order raised on any senator who is on their feet contributing to this motion. And again, I caution the senators not to abuse that particular House rule, that you be factual. And remember, we have not suspended the standing orders of this House. So you have to take responsibility for whatever you say. You have to be factual, and whatever you say, you must be able to substantiate. So if you're unable to substantiate, don't go there. Don't abuse the fact that no points of orders shall be raised. So, Senator Ojenda, if indeed what you're saying is factual, you may proceed. If it's not, just withdraw it and proceed to make your copy.
Mr. Speaker, I will proceed, and because Senator Eddy will have a chance to speak, I will drop it so that I move in a more structured manner. Mr. Speaker, it is not in doubt, Mr. Speaker, sir, that our party leader, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, has seen the need, the greater interest of this country as overriding momentary interests or momentary party interests. And I thank him, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a time to focus. This is a time to bring a people together. It is a time to quell the near violence that we have seen in this country. It is a time to bring all levels of government together, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, what we witnessed on the day that the youth broke into Parliament is something that has never been witnessed in the history of this country. And we do not want to get to that low again. Mr. Speaker, sir, on that fateful day, not only was Parliament attacked, but the Supreme Court was also attacked. The county of Nairobi, the bastion or representing devolved power, was also attacked, Mr. Speaker, sir. This country must pull together. And to pull together, Mr. Speaker, sir, there must be a beginning. Political parties must ignore momentary political interests and sacrifice those momentary political interests for the bigger interests of this nation. Mr. Speaker, sir, today I rise as one of those last senators to be counted on this question. And my word is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I stand for transformation. I stand for change. I want to see a country that is united. I want to see a country that is progressive. I want to see a country, Mr. Speaker, sir, that speaks in one voice. I want to see a country that knows peace and not conflict. And I pray, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we shall remember that when we were at our lowest, political parties came together and built a front that ended the near conflict, the near doom, and the near low that this country faced. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, with that, we'll defer the motion. Clerk, call the next order, please.
Order number 9, Motion. Report of the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Social Health Insurance General Regulations 2024 and the Social Health Insurance Tribunal Procedure Rules 2024. Division.
The motion is deferred.
The Houses of Parliament Bicameral Relations Bill, National Assembly Bills number 44 of 2023, Division.
The motion is deferred. That order, rather, is deferred.
Order number 11, the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 40 of 2023, Division.
That order is also deferred. Next order.
Order number 12, the Street Vendors Protection of Livelihood Bill, Senate Bills number 41 of 2023, Division.
That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 13, the Law of Succession Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 20 of 2023, Division.
That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 14, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment number 2 Bill, Senate Bills number 52 of 2023, second reading.
Now, honorable senators, this motion is up for debate. I'm not having any name on my dashboard. And the mover is not present also to reply, so we'll defer that order. Next order.
Order number 15, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Kathuri Murungi. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 16, the Land Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 40 of 2022, second reading.
The Senate Majority Leader. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 17, the County Oversight and Accountability Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Ledama Olekina. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 18, the County Civic Education Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2024, second reading.
Senator S.C. Okenyuri. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 19, the County Statistics Bill, Senate Bills number 5 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Ali Roba. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 20, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2024, second reading.
The Senate Majority Leader. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 21, the Intergovernmental Relations Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 12 of 2024, second reading.
The Senate Majority Leader. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 22, the County Assembly's Pension Scheme Bill, Senate Bills number 14 of 2024, second reading.
The Senate Majority Leader. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 23, motion. Report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the status of implementation of projects funded by the conditional grant for the construction of county headquarters.
Honorable Senators, that motion is now on the floor for debate. Who is the mover? Yes, Senator Mgatana.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether the motion was moved. It was. Okay, then. And seconded. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to, first of all, congratulate the Honorable Senator Ali Roba, who moved this motion. And Mr. Speaker, if the House will remember, the report carries with it the facts that there were 5 county headquarters that had not been constructed. And in 2015, Mr. Speaker, the Senate established an ad hoc committee that made a decision to assist these county headquarters to be constructed. And Mr. Speaker, it was a conditional grant. One of those counties was Tana River County. That, Mr. Speaker, every financial year, some amount of money, 117 million, was to be given to these 5 counties, and then this would form 70% of the construction cost of the counties, and the counties were meant to give the 30% contribution so that, Mr. Speaker, these counties would have their own headquarters. Mr. Speaker, the other 4 counties were Tharaka Nithi, there was Lamu, there was Isiolo, and there was Nyandarua. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to focus on the fact that Tana River County, since devolution started up to date, it has not built its own county headquarters. And Mr. Speaker, despite the promise by the national government to give the 70% contribution, up to now, Mr. Speaker, these headquarters have not been constructed. And Mr. Speaker, the 5 senators from these 5 counties, we were invited by Chairman Finance Ali Roba to attend the meetings so that we can resolve the issues. And Mr. Speaker, at the end of these meetings, there were commitments that were made by the national government, and the governors of the county government agreed that they would finish their part. Mr. Speaker, up to now, the 5 county headquarters have not been constructed. What I want to acknowledge here is that the national government, the PS of Public Works, and the CS, the PS Treasury, they have played their part. They have even written agreements, Mr. Speaker, to transfer now the full responsibility of construction to the county governments. And now the issue of having issues about who is in charge of the actual construction of the projects has been finalized. Mr. Speaker, I really wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Senate Finance Committee because of the leadership it has shown in this matter. Mr. Speaker, in Tana River County, for example, Mr. Speaker, you visit other counties and you see the beautiful county headquarters. You visit other governors and you see truly some counties have beautiful executive offices of their governors where important discussions are done, and even potential donors, potential partners, potential economic investors in the counties, they go and they have confidence that they are dealing with the right people. But when you come to our county, Mr. Speaker, since devolution started, it has not been possible to also enjoy the facilities of our county headquarters. So, Mr. Speaker, I am grateful to the Senate Finance Committee for the work they have done, for the leadership they have taken, calling all the 5 governors, calling the Treasury people, calling the Public Accounts Committee together to a table to agree on what needs to be done to solve the issues of county headquarters once and for all. Mr. Speaker, I really am grateful that we have been able, as a Senate, to offer leadership through the Senate Finance Committee. And so I thank the Senate Finance Committee, and my prayer is that now the implementers, who are the county governors, will be able to take it from where we left it, and they will be able to construct this building. And the monies that were promised by Treasury, that they will release those funds in good time, Mr. Speaker. I pray that those funds will be released so that we can enjoy the facilities of good county governments for the 5 counties that did not have county executive offices for their county governors. So, Mr. Speaker, mine is to urge the contractors who by now I believe must have received their monies to finish the work on time. We have waited for a long time since devolution up to now, and Tana River County deserves to have a good county headquarters. Isiolo County, Tharaka Nithi County, Lamu County, as well as Nyandarua counties. All these counties, Mr. Speaker, they deserve to have good county headquarters where this work, the work of the governors and the county executive, can be executed. Mr. Speaker, aside from that, I wanted to take this opportunity also to discuss the question of the mandates of committees within this House. Mr. Speaker, the mandate that committees exercise in this House have been challenged by the recent developments in the youth. The demonstrations that took place in the country recently, raising one of the issues as the way the financial management of this country is carried out, it raises certain questions about the mandates of committees in this House. Mr. Speaker, if you look at this report by Senator Roba, our very able chairman, it states, like all committees, that the mandate of the Committee of Finance is extracted from Article 124(1) of the Constitution, which provides for the establishment of committees. As Mr. Speaker, Finance Committee of the Senate itself is supposed to examine the policy issues, to scrutinize the expenditures of county governments, examine proposals for legislation, and produce a report. Mr. Speaker, if you look at that report again, it says that the Senate Committee on Finance and Budget is established under the PFM Act, Public Finance Act 2012, and the Standing Order number 228 of the Senate Standing Orders. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that this Finance Committee is supposed to do is to scrutinize how the funds are being utilized in the various county governments. And it's not just the Finance Committee. We have the Special Funds Committee, Mr. Speaker, that is chaired by the Honorable Sosi. We also have the Public Accounts Committee that is chaired by Senator Kajwang. Mr. Speaker, we have been making very serious recommendations that come from the reports of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, there is a lot that committees in this Senate have been doing in terms of reporting misuse and mismanagement of funds that are allocated under the equitable share, and also those are raised from on-source revenues from county governments. But, Mr. Speaker, the fact that the young people went into the streets and they are raising questions, not just on the national government, but even on the county government, it means this mechanism that we use, that governors come, they give explanation on audit queries, and then they go away. This mechanism, Mr. Speaker, not only in the Senate, but also in the National Assembly, when they are now oversighting the national government, this mechanism, Mr. Speaker, has been brought to question. That, Mr. Speaker, our own chairman of a Public Accounts Committee of the Senate declares a whole county that this office is a criminal, it's an area, it's a crime scene, Mr. Speaker, and it needs investigation. But then we leave it there. So our people have been seeing these things on television, Mr. Speaker. They have seen governors not being able to explain themselves. And yet the mechanism that we have, Mr. Speaker, does not force governors to go to take plea for misdeeds within their counties. Mr. Speaker, when you visit the Public Accounts Committee, you would see even within the Public Accounts Committee, there are members from the Auditor General's office, there is a representation from the ESCC. Mr. Speaker, no action is taken. Governors come, they ask for time, and I have attended, Mr. Speaker, a session for Tana River County, where the chairman himself has said if it was in another jurisdiction, you would be staying down in the cells waiting for police action. But, Mr. Speaker, in our jurisdiction, in our system of oversight, the governors come, they explain themselves, they are given more time, they come again, they explain themselves, they are given more time. And, Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General now is even a very frustrated person. Mr. Speaker, the question our young people are asking, the monies which are being given to the county governments, the mismanagement of these funds, what are the consequences, Mr. Speaker? This, Mr. Speaker, is a question that we need to look at as Senate. This mandate of Article 124(1) of the Constitution that is clearly not being effective, because if these managers of our resources in the counties are coming and going and coming and going, and no consequence is visited upon them, it means, Mr. Speaker, the committee system in Kenya is not working. And we need to relook at this committee system to see if it is actually oversighting the county governors, to see if actually there are any consequences, Mr. Speaker, or misuse of county government funds. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the Auditor General's report, you will see that some county governments have over 300 accounts. My own county, Mr. Speaker, 34 accounts. Other counties that have been mentioned, 200 accounts, 100 accounts, more than. And Mr. Speaker, against the rules of the Public Finance Management Act, and yet no consequences. You write to the relevant authorities, no consequences. Mr. Speaker, this country, through the demonstrations that have taken place, are asking for a new culture. Either, Mr. Speaker, we give directions, because corruption is not going to be done to be solved by the president. Corruption is going to be solved by all the arms of government playing their roles. If the committees of this House, Mr. Speaker, are giving direction that this is a crime scene, that this governor needs to be arrested and charged, you have ESCC sitting there, you have representation from the Auditor General, and nothing happens. Mr. Speaker, we need to take the opportunity, like the president took the opportunity to start wiping off. He dealt with his cabinet. We need also to have a retrospect, Mr. Speaker. Are these committee systems working? Do we need to also change our laws? Do we need to make our teeth bite, Mr. Speaker? What else can we do? Because our committees, Mr. Speaker, even governors refuse to come, some of them, and nothing happens to them. We just put the fine of the normal fine of $500 million. They come and pay, they apologize, and they go away. We say that this money has been mismanaged. They come, they explain, they go away. Mr. Speaker, the committee system must be made to work. The committee system must actually be made to work. And it is time, just like the executive has taken action to create a system that is more accountable. Even us, Mr. Speaker, in this House, we can take the opportunity, because the public is asking for answers. When systems fail, it's when the public goes out, and because there's no leadership now. When they see even members of parliament, Mr. Speaker, they have audit queries, and there's nothing that happens to them, Mr. Speaker. Our people are also asking, apart from the executive taking action from these demonstrations from our youth, we also need to look introspectively into ourselves. We look into these committee systems. What do we need to do to strengthen them so that people who are managing public funds, Mr. Speaker, can face consequences when things are not being handled as per the expectations of the public? Mr. Speaker, otherwise, I beg to support this report and thank very much the Finance Committee for the work they have done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Maitho.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I also rise to support this report of the Finance Committee on the status of the implementation of projects that were funded by conditional grant for the construction of county headquarters. Honourable Speaker, one of the counties that were beneficiary of this conditional grant was my county, Nyandarua County, and the reason why this was mooted in this House, Honourable Speaker, was to address the iniquity that met 5 of the counties that have been mentioned here: Lamu, Isiolo, Tana River, Nyandarua, and I think one more county, Honourable Speaker, which after the hiving off and after counties came by, Honourable Speaker, either their old district headquarters were taken to other places, or they never enjoyed to have been headquarters of former provinces, Honourable Speaker. One of these cases, Honourable Speaker, was Nyandarua County, whose old district headquarters were in Nyahururu, Honourable Speaker. in the new dispensation of the counties, Honorable Speaker, Nyahururu became part of Laikipia, and then we were then forced to go to a new county headquarters, or Kalau, which didn't have government facilities, Honorable Speaker. However, just as it has been correctly noted by the Committee on Finance, Honorable Speaker, this project and this idea, very, very brilliant idea that was mooted in 2017, has taken inordinately long to have it implemented or to have it come to fruition, Honorable Speaker. Some of the projects that we are speaking about, and in the case for Nyandaro, Honorable Speaker, the contract for the establishment of the county headquarters was signed in March of 2020. So close to 5 years later, Honorable Speaker, not really much has been able to be achieved because as it is in the project status right now, Honorable Speaker, the county headquarters has only been done up to about 55%, Honorable Speaker. And there are two things to it, Honorable Speaker. You know, this project was to be jointly undertaken by the county government and the national government, Honorable Speaker. And since we were invited by the committee twice, my own governor, myself, and the other governors from the other counties and the other senators from the other counties, Honorable Speaker, Tharaka-Nithi, Lamu, Isiolo, and Tana River, there are two things that came out very clearly, and I think it is in the recommendation of the committee. And I think it is fair that I also report, to the best of my knowledge, especially for the case of Nyandarua, in terms of the overall responsibilities of project management, including supervision, monitoring, and payment of contractors, Honorable Speaker, that is a secondary matter. But there was a request by the Council of Governors when they appeared before the committee. There was a request by the governors when they appeared before the committee, the governor for Tharaka-Nithi and the other 5 governors, Honorable Speaker, that they requested that now this project is now transferred to the counties, Honorable Speaker, for two things. One, Honorable Speaker, most of these projects had variations that were over 25% that is acceptable in law, Honorable Speaker. The initial cost of the county headquarters for Nyandarua was supposed to be 412 or 427 millions, Honorable Speaker. But after the first certificates were raised, the contractor had raised certificates of about 322 million. Then the new contract was entered into was for about 450 million, Honorable Speaker. So the contract sum went to up to almost twice the amount that was initially supposed to do with this county headquarters, Honorable Speaker. And it is at this point then, Honorable Speaker, we must also speak about standardization, because even though the cost of construction in different places is different, Honorable Speaker, it sometimes becomes very alarming of the reason why a county headquarters or a governor's resident in Mandera, Honorable Speaker, should cost 252 million, and a governor's resident in Kericho is costing 60 million. I mean, a governor is a governor, Honorable Speaker. The kind of facility that the governor for Kilifi, the governor for Mombasa, the governor for Nairobi requires is the same kind of facility that the governor for Isiolo also requires to run, Honorable Speaker. There was a request, and there is a recommendation that I did support, Honorable Speaker, that the intergovernmental arrangements framework for the implementation of the project should be revised to ensure that to ensure expeditious completion of the project, Honorable Speaker. If this idea first came to the Senate in 2017, Honorable Speaker, we are now 7 years into the implementation of the project. If the projects have only been done 55%, the people are not getting as much utility as they should from getting a county headquarters, Honorable Speaker. I would want to conceptualize it this way, Honorable Speaker, that in the case for Nyandarua, the county assembly of Nyandarua was conceived after the county headquarters. The county assembly is now complete, has been in use for the last about 3 years. The county assembly office block was conceptualized after the county assembly, after the county government headquarters, Honorable Speaker. The county assembly office block, which is also a very big building in Olokala, Honorable Speaker, is complete, but the county government headquarters are still not complete. The land registry in Olokala, Honorable Speaker, was mooted way after the county headquarters. It was launched way after the county headquarters, Honorable Speaker. But as it is now, the land registry in Olokala is complete, but the county government headquarters are not complete, Honorable Speaker. The judiciary in Olokala, Honorable Speaker, I'm happy to inform you that now in Okara we have a magistrate and we have a high court in Okara, Honorable Speaker. The building for that particular judiciary building, Honorable Speaker, started way after the county headquarters. But the judiciary is complete, it is in use, but the county headquarters is yet to be in use, Honorable Speaker. So this completion of this county headquarters must be expeditious. And now that this project has been handed over to the county government, especially in the case of Nyandaro, because I saw the governor with the PS for Treasury and the team from the Treasury, Honorable Speaker, midwifing the handover from the national government to the county government, I now want to wish that now this matter becomes now a matter of the past. If there are monies that remains, because out of the monies that we are supposed to get from the national government in the 2022-2023 budget, only about 800 million had been released out of the money that the national government had committed of 1.8 billion, Honorable Speaker. I am not so certain how much was able to be absorbed in the 2023-2024 budget, Honorable Speaker. But if there are monies that are remaining in the national government, I think it is high time that we now ensure we send this money. And in this regard, Honorable Speaker, it is for this reason why I feel that even as we deal with the matters that we speak about, cutting our budgets, dealing with matters on austerity, if there are monies that we as a House must really try and protect, are the monies that are supposed to go to devolution, Honorable Speaker. Because even though the finance bill did not see the light of the day, Honorable Speaker, it does not mean that we cannot be able to collect as much as we collected last year. The minimum that we can get is what we got last year. We cannot go lower to what we got last year, Honorable Speaker, in terms of the monies that we are sending to the counties. If anything, Honorable Speaker, even revenues have expanded. The revenues that we are collecting this year are not the same revenues that we collected last year. So if our revenues are expanding, if the budget of the national government is expanding, Honorable Speaker, we must also expand the budget of the counties. You know, Honorable Speaker, we were being told that national government has a big burden, which I actually agree, because we need to absorb JSS teachers, Honorable Speaker. We need to ensure that we take care of our doctors, Honorable Speaker. But we cannot forget that even as we absorb JSS teachers, Honorable Speaker, there is the plight of ECD teachers that are in our counties, Honorable Speaker, who are earning a meager 8,000, Honorable Speaker. If we cannot send enough money to ensure that we help governors so that they can have the ECD teachers put in a very good contract so that they can be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor, Honorable Speaker, we shall have done a disservice to our counties. That I know will be a substantive motion that we shall deliberate on, Honorable Speaker, on the money that we are supposed to send to the counties. But I actually feel, Honorable Speaker, that even in the budgets of the county governments, because there was a share that was supposed to be contributed by the county governments, Honorable Speaker, even as we cry about the money that we want to push from the national budget, the monies that are supposed to have been appropriated by the county governments themselves, Honorable Speaker, there should not be an issue on expending that money, Honorable Speaker. They should be able to have budgeted in this budget of 2024-2025, Honorable Speaker, so that at least we remain with the bit that now remains with the national government, Honorable Speaker. On issues of project management, including supervision, you know, Honorable Speaker, counties have had this habit of saying that because the Department of Public Works is the one that does supervision, is the one that does monitoring, Honorable Speaker, is the one that certifies certificates so that contractors can be paid, Honorable Speaker. They want to use this as a reason for the inordinate delays in one, payment of contractors, and in two, certification of the works done, Honorable Speaker. We actually agree that this role be now transferred to the county governments so that they can supervise and they can monitor, and so that they can be able to honor the certificates that are raised, Honorable Speaker. Finally, there's this body that is called IGRTC, Honorable Speaker. I think it is high time that they now step up, Honorable Speaker, so that they can be able to try and be the umpire between the national government and the county government, Honorable Speaker, in terms of even these projects that are co-financed by the national government, Honorable Speaker. In most of our counties, and you know, Honorable Speaker, it was part of the dreams. It was part of the manifesto of this particular administration, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that we have an industrial and aggregation park, county aggregation and industrial park, CAIP, in every county, Honorable Speaker, in every of our 47 counties, Honorable Speaker. The financing of this particular county aggregation and industrial park was supposed to be 50-50, Honorable Speaker. The national government was supposed to give 250. The county governments were supposed to give 250, Honorable Speaker. In most of the counties, you ask the senators here, even those ones that these projects have been launched, Honorable Speaker, you find that counties either do not have the money, have not put the money, or the national government have not put the money, Honorable Speaker. You know, there's a second program from the national government that has been very successful on the community health promoters, and you know we dealt with this bill when we were in Turkana, Honorable Speaker. But you find in almost all our counties, as the senators who are here will confirm, Honorable Speaker, that the only stipends that the county health promoters have been able to receive are the monies that come from the national government, because the county governments have not been able to put enough money, or they have not been able to match what has been brought by the national government. The county governments have not matched, Honorable Speaker. So I think it is high time that IGRTC, Honorable Speaker, and even the Council of Governors and all these bodies that are between the national government and the county governments, including this Senate, Honorable Speaker, we try and pronounce ourselves, because if the money is there in the national government for the community health promoters, why can't we then follow up to ensure that this money that is coming from the national government, there is the matching money that is in the county governments, Honorable Speaker. I do not intend to say more than that, Honorable Speaker, but I actually feel if we are not able to complete these county headquarters in this financial year of 2024-2025, we shall have done a disservice to our people. Our people will not have gotten the utility that we want to get, Honorable Speaker. It is not fair that even in some of the counties that county governors continue hiring offices that they can operate from, Honorable Speaker. I know in the case of Nyandarua, I know there are still offices that are hired from private, Honorable Speaker. We must be able to finish these county headquarters, Honorable Speaker, so that the governors can get places to work from, and so that even our counties can be able to move forward. I support, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Mofaya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm one of the counties that are affected by this motion, and I want to sincerely thank Chair Finance, my brother Senator Roba, for having brought this very important motion before this House. Honorable Speaker, the Rakanidi County has for very many years suffered some historical injustices. Rakanidi, Honorable Speaker, was hived from the defunct Meru County Council. And all through, for the last 60 years down the line, we have been putting structures in Meru County. We built county council headquarters. We put in place all the structures in place in Meru County. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, in 1992, Rakanidi was hived from Meru County, and we became a district. Then, after the new constitution, Rakanidi, among many other counties, Mwingi, and so many other counties for that matter, attained the status of being a county for that matter. Honorable Speaker, when we became a county, people through public participation sat down and agreed that for effective representation, for effective devolution, we should have a place called Kadwana as county headquarters. Kadwana was a market, and is still a market. Because, Honorable Speaker, Kadwana serves, and to very many, it is the headquarters of the Rakanidi County, where people will be served equally without necessarily having to travel from far distance, so that we could realize the essence of devolution. Honorable Speaker, it is important for this House to note that for the last 12 years since the inception of devolution, Kadwana has remained a ghost county headquarters with no meaningful structures in place. We have a county assembly which is in makeshifts, the Mbati structures. I remember last time, Honorable Speaker, I took devolution committee to Kadwana, and I was terribly ashamed. So, Honorable Speaker, I have captioned quite a number of debaters argue about the conditional grant that was given to county headquarters. But of course, Honorable Speaker, this man has faced a lot of challenges. Because, Honorable Speaker, I don't know why, for what reasons, that man has to go through the public works, creating a lot of bureaucratic processes and a lot of hiccups here and there. I don't know for what reasons, Honorable Speaker, that money should not be channeled and directed to the relevant counties for them to, if they cannot be, they can be trusted with the billions of money that they are getting as a share of revenue. I don't know for what reasons that money is not given to governors directly. So, Honorable Speaker, it is important, Honorable Speaker, that we as a House must expedite this process so that those counties, especially Nyandarua, Aramu, Tharaka Nithi, and Isiolo, Tana River, from where my brother originated from, people can realize the essence and the importance of devolution. It is very unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, up to today, Tharaka Nithi County, the entire county administration is stationed at Chuka, disadvantaging quite a number of other constituents, especially those from Tharaka and some parts of Mara and the Gambangombe. And it is something, Honorable Speaker, has really brought a lot of issues, especially political temperatures. But, Honorable Speaker, I'm happy to report that up to now, the Tharaka Nithi County headquarters is almost 82% complete, but it cannot be occupied because it's just a shell. There is nothing that people can see. So, Honorable Speaker, I'm happy with the Chair of Finance because this motion is going to capture a lot of sentiments, a lot of feelings for the people. And I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that as Honorable Metho has just mentioned, it is important that we expedite this matter and finalize this process in this year, 2024-25 financial year, so that we can have the importance of devolution in place and people can enjoy the services that they require in their respective counties. Because, Honorable Speaker, it is shameful. 12 years down the line, we do not have structures in place in terms of county headquarters in those relevant counties. And that is the essence, Honorable Speaker. It is one way of saying that people, especially the entities that are concerned, do not have any value for devolution. Because the essence of county headquarters, Honorable Speaker, is for people to get services. So, Honorable Speaker, in this respect, I hope through this committee, through this House, we are going to expedite the process so that by 2024-25 financial year, we are going to have these counties put in place and the structures complete so that people can enjoy the essence of devolution. Honorable Speaker, I thank you and I support.
Senator Bone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, time truly moves. 2010, when the new constitution was promulgated, one of the most exciting provisions in the constitution, Mr. Speaker, was Article number 10 that provided for national values. And in Article number 10, Mr. Speaker, is specifically 10(2)(b) that speaks to the values of human dignity, Mr. Speaker, equity, social justice, Mr. Speaker, inclusivity, equality, non-discrimination, and protection of the marginalized. That is the Constitution of Kenya. It is that letter, accompanied with the spirit, Mr. Speaker, that we wanted a new constitution that will see the whole country moving together at almost the same pace so that nobody's left behind, nobody's marginalized, nobody feels discriminated, nobody feels dehumanized, Mr. Speaker. It is sad that 8 years later, that when I sat in this House, and I think Professor, former Minister for Interior Security, Kindiki, spoke very emotionally on this motion. I remember very well when I was seated there. And we succeeded. This was a matter that we debated in this House 2015. We succeeded, and the national government agreed that this process takes place. Nothing that we can call closure has taken place at this time. I would like, Mr. Speaker, to appeal to this House. We all support this so that the discrimination, the marginalization visited on the counties of Lamu, Isiolo, Tana River, and Tharaka Nithi and Nyandarua should be something of the past. Mr. Speaker, the case of Tharaka Nithi is really a sorry state. These were people who are living very well under the defunct local authority of Meru, and when they saw the new constitution, they thought they had been living under the Holy Spirit, under John the Baptist, and now the Holy Spirit had arrived. Now the Holy Spirit has arrived in the rest of the country, but in Tharaka Nithi, they would not be blamed if they have changed course from Christianity to something else. Mr. Speaker, it's a pity that if you go to a place like Tana River, I think the governor operates from some house. I don't know whether it is Mungat. I don't know whether it's Senator Mungatana's house or whose house it is. It cannot be right. Mr. Speaker, my third contribution to this is what was the vision? The vision is not what is going on now. If you go to a place like Mandera, where the chairman of this committee was governor for 10 years, because he was proactive and visionary, he's built a very good county headquarters. Mr. Speaker, if you go to other counties, like Kakamega, they have built something that looks like a county headquarters, not a county headquarters. The original spirit was, Mr. Speaker, that we standardize what a model county headquarters would be, a model county assembly would be, a model of governor's residence would be, and so on and so forth. But now, because we didn't do that, we've opened the floodgates for some unscrupulous governors to sink millions of shillings, in fact, hundreds of millions of shillings, into structures that we are not too clear whether they would have met the original specification of what we wanted for county headquarters. I remember, Mr. Speaker, at the time we were in this house, after we promulgated the new constitution, architectural designs of the county headquarters for the executive were tabled on this floor, for the speakers of county assembly, and so on. We've lost it there, and because we can't keep on bemoaning, let's go ahead and allow these counties to conclude their projects. Mr. Speaker, if we have failed on this intergovernmental initiative, the first big one was this one, that has taken a whooping 8 to 9 years, then I am very worried about the 500 million that we have committed for the county aggregation industrial parks. If we are not too careful, again, 10 years from now, we will be bemoaning in this house that we started a project which has become a white elephant. Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by speaking to the case of Kakamega County. Kakamega County is not only the third most populous county in Kenya, but it is also, Mr. Speaker, the second largest county in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, it's a pity that 12 years after devolution, there is no county assembly in Kakamega. I had an opportunity of taking my colleagues to Kakamega, led by Chairman Ali Roba. And Ali Roba, knowing the good work he did in Mandera, he was ashamed to walk in the county headquarters of Kakamega. I call upon the current governor of Kakamega to pull up his socks, the current speaker of Kakamega, Mr. Namathi, to pull up his socks so that a new modern county assembly is constructed in Kakamega. And what is more, I want to urge the governor of Kakamega to desist from the temptation of the corruption that goes around renting county offices. Mr. Speaker, the county government of Kakamega pays rent in excess of 71 million shillings just for renting offices. And yet already at Mudiri, the former Mudiri estate in Kakamega, people have been evacuated. The governor said that his first project would be construction of the county headquarters. It is now 2 years. We're starting to wonder whether the governor will actually exit in 2027 when he has constructed or not. I want to urge him, this should be a priority so that the people of Kakamega do not keep on losing millions of shillings in paying for rent to offices of private people who have no interest in devolution, who are sitting there hoping that the governor fails in construction so that they continue collecting money. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, the matter is so crucial to the people of Kakamega that when the Gen Z came out into the streets of Kakamega, they went straight to those private offices. They didn't want to have them there and stoned them flat and banned county vehicles that were parked outside those rented premises. The youth were saying, Madam Speaker, that money is being wasted, the headquarters should be constructed. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to end my contribution by paying my condolences to the family of Caroline Shiramba, who was shot during the Gen Z demonstrations in Kakamega. And Madam Speaker, it is pathetic that the officer who shot Shiramba in broad daylight was an officer attached to the governor of Kakamega. We know his identity, we know his face, we know his name. We want to urge the governor to surrender this security officer to the nearest police station so that the people of Ekolomani who buried Shiramba over the weekend can see an element of justice. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Majority Leader. Senator Medhu, you should not distract the Majority Leader.
You know, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, you know, when this motion first came to this House, the people of Nyandarua had sent a very serious man to this House, Engineer Murugi Karue. I don't want to say more than that, but Mr. Speaker, of their choices they have made since then. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I rise to support this very important motion. One of the very insightful decisions that the Senate has made over the years in the course of our duty as representatives of counties and their county governments and their interest, the decision to bequeath the people of Isiolo, Lamu, Nyandarua, and the two other, Tana River and Tharaka Nithi, with county headquarters, Mr. Speaker, was a wise decision by this House. It was made after a very deep, heated debate. I was a member of Budget and Finance Committee, Madam Speaker, at that time, and it was extremely difficult to convince the 47 delegations of this House why, and why out of the shareable revenue to county governments that we set aside some funds for 5 counties only. In fact, I remember that afternoon very well, the same way Senator Boni Halwale is speaking to, that many speakers argued and insisted and said, this is a dangerous precedent that we are saying, that we are setting, because how will we justify to the people that we represent in this House that besides setting aside funds for our own use as a people, we have agreed to set out 600 plus million to 5 counties to build their county headquarters. I'm glad that wisdom prevailed that afternoon. And since then, Mr. Speaker, these counties have gone on to put on headquarters. It is unfortunate, though, Madam Speaker, that years later, we are here back with a report and we are yet to reap the fruits of that particular decision. Unknown to many, Madam Speaker, this decision was quite Solomonic. And in fact, this was the first conditional grant. It is after this decision that subsequently the Senate now introduced the concept of conditional grants that we have now since had on many other projects and the things that are being done. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I go on to the first point that I wish to point out on this particular debate. And it's good because Senator Robert, the chairperson of this committee, is in the House and is listening. I wish that we could get a similar report of projects that have been carried out under subsequent conditional grants, county-specific, on what has been done, Madam Speaker. Because, you know, just the same way, 8 years down the line, we are here discussing county headquarters and the fact that billions of money has gone on to build these headquarters, but the people of these 5 counties have never enjoyed those services, Madam Speaker. We need to make a firm decision whether this concept, as we thought of at that particular time, works or it doesn't. Because it's unfortunate, Madam Speaker, if we have poured out billions of taxpayers' money, yet the citizens from these counties up to today cannot enjoy the services from those particular resources. How much more on other conditional grants, on health, the FLOCA funds, and this and that, Madam Speaker. Many funds that we continue to pass in this House, Madam Speaker, because ultimately, Madam Speaker, public resources are not any different from our own resources. It is your wish as an individual, every time you put out money to do a particular project, that you enjoy services from that particular project, whether it is building a house, setting up a business, buying an asset, Madam Speaker, you want to enjoy that which you are paid for. And it is unfortunate that as you sit here today, Madam Speaker, we are discussing something that 8 years down the line, the citizens of these 5 counties have not enjoyed their investment, because it is their money, they are taxpayers, they are Kenyan citizens. And the same replete stories are all over on conditional grants. Therefore, I want to demand from Senator Roba and the committee that he leads that we have a special audit of funds under conditional grant as well, so that we make a firm decision and agree whether it is sustainable to keep it in that particular model, or we leave all funds to specific counties so that you go sit down by whatever means that you want and determine how you want to use those particular funds, Madam Speaker. I am sure that if the people of these 5 counties had been left to their own devices and they decided on how to fund these particular counties, perhaps a county headquarters, perhaps within their budget cycles, because this is almost 8 years of 8 financial years, I don't think that the county governments, the 5 county governments, will not have completed the headquarters. But because they knew they were waiting for a conditional grant that is passed in every financial year, each budget, I think even this year, in the CARA that we passed, there's an allocation of 400 million, Madam Speaker, they would have completed this. That is part of what is contributing to public wastage. And this habit, Madam Speaker, unfortunately, is something that we picked up from the national government. There are buildings all over this town, which if you pass, Madam Speaker, Kenyan citizens are paid billions of shillings. But as we speak today, one of the biggest charge to the exchequer, Madam Speaker, by the various state departments and ministries, just like these county governments, is a hiring of offices. All these new buildings that you see coming up all over Upper Hill, it is not private sector that are occupying. 90% of floors are taken by different state departments, Madam Speaker. Yet there are empty buildings that government has built. If you go down this road, Madam Speaker, on Bunyala Road, there is a building that has been an ISO for close to, I think, 20 years. For as long as I can remember, being an adult in this city, Madam Speaker. I think it's by Kirdi or something. Very big building. 20, 30 years of building that particular building. That building that can house thousands of government employees, Madam Speaker, and save on funds. These funds that are now causing us to lose lives and destabilizing our countries because of the scarcity of resources, Madam Speaker, is on account of wastage of public funds. This is one such example, Madam Speaker, and so many others that will be struggling. Therefore, it is my sincere hope, Madam Speaker, that beyond the call of this report, Madam Speaker, to note the various stages and the same, I hope that we can have other far-reaching decisions, Madam Speaker. I wish even the committee was moving us, Madam Speaker, to complete a special audit on this building, know how much is left, and put a byline, Madam Speaker, so that we say, for the sake of stopping the wastage of public resources, in the next allocation, just grant this county X amount of money, they complete on this building, and we forget about it, Madam Speaker. Because what we have done here is barely scratching the surface, just pointing out to the challenges that exist. It is my hope, Madam Speaker, that even as we interact and as we do the kind of reports that we have done, much as what the Committee of Budget and Finance have done is commendable, Madam Speaker, I wish they had gone for the kill so that we solve this problem for once and for all. And then secondly, and most importantly, go to the other conditional grants that we continue to have, Madam Speaker. Funds that we devolve, send to the various counties, but if you go, and I want to challenge colleague senators that are here this afternoon, just go to your county and check the various conditional funds that we send, whether it is the FLOCA funds or Kenya Urban Support Program, these specific special funds that we send to our counties, how many of them have got complete, well-done projects that you can be proud about, Madam Speaker? Many of these funds, Madam Speaker, they end up being wasted, especially because auditing of these specific funds, Madam Speaker, is under a different purview, separate from the annual audit reports that we receive. And I want to challenge colleague senators that the next time you visit your county assemblies, Madam Speaker, demand of our members of county assembly to carry out even special audits on these particular funds, Madam Speaker, and grant you a report or present a report before the citizens of your county on how much of the various conditional grants have been received and what projects have been done to completion. Because it is one thing to commence a project, it is another thing altogether for citizens to derive value from that project once it is completed. The challenge that we have with this country, and what we are being challenged about, Madam Speaker, is the fact that the minute people have procured a project and they have secured the 10% that comes from it or whatever cut the procuring officers receive from that particular project, nobody has an interest after that, Mr. Speaker, to see what happens with that particular project. They quickly move on to the next project. That is the report that we are reading this afternoon about these particular programs. Perhaps even the motivation in some of these county governments, Madam Speaker, is because people know that the contractor was signed up by a governor who has since retired. So they're asking, what is the motivation anyway? Why would I engage this particular person? It's unfortunate. We need to make a decision as a country, suspending the introduction of new projects until, first of all, Madam Speaker, you complete. You know, and many times we speak about this and people don't appreciate or understand that there is little difference in terms of deriving value out of public projects from what you do privately. If today, Madam Speaker, of the resources that you administer at a personal level, you have projects littered all over parts of the country where you have interest, Madam Speaker, and none of which is complete, are you a prudent administrator of your own resources? I thought common wisdom dictates, Madam Speaker, that you first complete one project or the other, Madam Speaker, enjoy the benefits from that particular project before commencing any other. That is what sensible people do. Madam Speaker, we are being challenged as a country to raise the heads of accountability. And this is the opportunity that has come out of the challenges that we are facing through as a nation right now. And we will be fools who have learned nothing out of this crisis, Madam Speaker, if we don't point out and agree actually to the wisdom that is being called upon for us to rise up and demand that we must put to better use any funds collected from citizens. The same things that you cannot do with your own resources, Madam Speaker, don't accept to do it with public funds, Madam Speaker. We must raise the standards of accountability for people to declare publicly and let it be known, Madam Speaker, that despite the fact that they have no specific interest on a project because maybe it was procured by a different administration, a different governor, a different procuring officer, you see to it that it is complete, Madam Speaker, so that citizens can enjoy the use of that particular project. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to appreciate the work that the Budget and Finance Committee have done, but I want to believe that we can do better, specifically to stall projects in our county. Many billions of shillings have been lost. And in fact, maybe this is something that, just as a final point, Madam Speaker, I wish to challenge colleagues, senators, to do. This is the 13th year, or rather the 12th year, Madam Speaker, of devolution in our county governments. Just do a sum total of all the projects from 2013, when devolution came into light in this country, Madam Speaker, that are stalled in our various counties, and how much has gone into that particular project up to date, and do a sum total. You will be shocked, Madam Speaker, that in each of our county, there's billions, if not hundreds of millions of money, Madam Speaker, that you can list, and a decision needs to be made. A special audit needs to be carried by our county assemblies, and a decision is made. What do you do? Are you going to leave those resources to go to waste and ruin as if you don't care? Or we make a decision. Either do whatever needs to be done, complete. If it doesn't make sense, Madam Speaker, then let it be known and closed in the books that this project has been declared that it can never take off, so that we know who entered into those contracts, what were the intention, and what will be done to them, Madam Speaker. This is a challenge that we must give ourselves as senators on stalled projects in our counties, so that it becomes a lesson. Anybody who procures in the future, Madam Speaker, any works or services, that it shall be to the benefit of the country. You know, counties, Madam Speaker, replicate what we have learned from national government. Yet, the reason why in 2010, many Kenyans voted in support of this constitution was because of the tenets of devolution, Madam Speaker, where they believe that they could not see proper management of resources at the national government, and said if we brought it closer, then there'd be better scrutiny. I hope we can still live by that particular dream, Madam Speaker, so that we ensure that our county governments work, because that's one of the gifts that we have given ourselves over the many progressive things that we have done as a country the last 60 years, and we cannot afford it to go to waste. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I believe that even as we do the resolution on the reflection motion that is before this House, there must be a line about what each of us is supposed to do in our specific counties. A special audit separate, Madam Speaker, from the things that are being done here at the national level, so that we complete on those projects and ensure that citizens get value for money. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support and appreciate the industry of this committee. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I arise to support this particular motion. Madam Speaker, it was a good idea to support the 5 counties to put up headquarters, even though I know that there are more counties actually that should have been supported, which includes Elgeyo-Marakwet County, because Elgeyo-Marakwet County basically is housed in a makeshift prefab building as the county headquarters. If you go to E10, our county headquarters, you don't know where the governor is or where the county assembly is. Madam Speaker, I think the original idea of using public works and national government to implement the projects were wrong, Madam Speaker. This was not the right framework to have.
Hold it up, Senator Kisang. What's your point of order, Senator Madago?
Madam Speaker, I'm just a little bit wondering. Senator Kisang is speaking from minority side. I don't know if there are changes. I'm not aware. Madam Speaker, it's good to be informed.
There are many dialogues taking place right now, so let him be. Let him speak from whichever side. Proceed, Senator Kisang.
Madam Speaker, I think Mandako has just come from a trip out of the country, and is not aware of realignment, and he doesn't know that we have an engagement of forming broad-based government. And as part of that broad-based government, I saw that this other side of the aisle, there was no one around. Madam Speaker, I was saying I think the original framework of using public works and treasury to do the implementation of the project was wrong, Madam Speaker. If the conditional grants were given directly to the counties and then be given enough budget to complete, this issue of 10, 12 years project stalling, Madam Speaker, would not have been there. Madam Speaker, it is terrible. It's appalling that after 10 years, all the 5 county headquarters, none has been completed, Madam Speaker. And within the same time, same governors, the governors of these particular counties where the money were channeled, they have put up their own buildings bigger than the county headquarters, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is something that we need to look at, and as we support the report, we would urge the Committee of Finance and Budget to sit down and see if we can give them, we can allocate resources to these particular counties to complete once and for all. Otherwise, this thing will go on forever. As the leader majority had said earlier, Girdi, I put up a huge building, and it's been ongoing for the last almost 15 years. National Examination Council put up a building in South Sea for close to 35, 40 years. And even up to date, they have moved to place, but it's not complete. So, Madam Speaker, this is something that we need to look at closely as senators, so that we fight the bullet, we propose to allocate resources, and we give them time frames. In fact, if you read the report, Madam Speaker, some of the counties, they changed the locations where the county headquarters are supposed to be put up. What happened? When you are doing the tender documents, there should have been a design, and when you are doing the design, there is a location that the design was done. Why do you change the scope of the project along the way? Basically, as you change the scope along the way, what will happen? The cost of the project will escalate. The contractors will leave site, come back later on, claim idle equipment on site. So that's why if we don't make the right decision, Madam Speaker, this particular county headquarters will continue being incomplete for a long time. I remember when we were in Turkana last year, Madam Speaker, for Mashinani Senate, the county headquarters for Turkana has also stalled. I know they use their own resources to put up the county headquarters, but it's not benefiting. The reason why resources are allocated is so that the people of the counties can access services easily. They know where the governors are, they know where the county executives are, but now we're wasting a lot of resources across these 5 counties by hiring officers instead of benefiting from the resources that were allocated, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's also good to know that when you use public works to do the design and implementation, the cost of the projects actually more than double because of corruption. They are very inefficient. In fact, the counties are struggling, especially when it comes to monitoring and implementation. The public works officers, they ask for allowances. They are on salaries, but they ask for allowances to go to visit their sites. This is something that we need to build capacity for our county governments so that they don't have to rely on public works officers from the national government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I had said earlier, we need to relook also at other counties. Elgeyo Marakwet County, I know Senator Governor Mandako did a lot of good work. In fact, he put up 6 sub-county headquarters in Washingishu across all the 6 constituencies. And Elgeyo Marakwet County, we've done nothing because we don't have enough resources. So we'll be asking the Finance and Budget Committee to relook at other counties like Elgeyo Marakwet County that are getting below 5 billion, so that also we can benefit from these conditional grants, so that we can put up county assemblies, we can put up also county headquarters, so that we look like other Kenyans. In fact, I was telling you when I appeared in the committee sometimes back that it will be unfair after 20 years. Some counties, like Elgeyo Marakwet County, will look like Kenya, and others would look like Singapore when we were at the same level 1972. This is unfair. This is a discrimination. This is something that we need to relook at, so that others are not favored. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also what is very important then is for the committee to see if the counties, in conjunction with the public works, are not able to complete these particular projects, we can see how can we take it up. Who can take it up to complete these projects? Because we'll be putting in resources. You put resources that are not enough to complete. Next year, there'll be variations by the contractors, because what has been put this year is not enough to complete. There is inflation. They are going to claim money for inflation. They claim money for idle equipment, the way NEC and GIRTI swallowed a lot of resources for over close to 30 years. Madam Speaker, we want to thank the committee. They are doing a good job, and please, let's also listen to our counties, so that especially those that are vulnerable, the last 10 or 11 counties. In fact, when I checked here, Tharaka-Nithi is one of the counties that were talking about different sites. You know, there was a fight between Chuka being the headquarters, and I think Madam Speaker understands, because as a former SG of UDA, or the incoming SG of UDA, understands the fight that was there then. I don't want to say much. For now, I want to tell Senator Mandako, if you want to speak early, you better shift side. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support the report.
Thank you, Senator Kisang. And Senator Jackson Madago. Just Senator Madago. Hey, honorable senators, can you consult in low tones? I'm calling Senator Madago to attention. He's not even getting it. Senator Madago, understanding Order 255, the only seats reserved exclusively for use by specific leaders are the seat of the Deputy Speaker, Senate Majority Leader, Senate Minority Leader, and senators with disabilities. The rest of the seats in chamber are used by any other senator. That's just for future reference and guidance. Thank you. Senator Ledama Olekina.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this report. Although we are speaking on this report after everything has been done, it is important to recognize the work done by the Senate. When the governors came to the Senate to seek support for these county headquarters to be completed, it is important also to note that the Senate played a critical role and ensured that at least these funds have been released under conditional grants. So this is one of the successes that we should be talking about, because a lot of people out there sometimes do not recognize the work that the senators do, but it is imperative to know that the Committee of Finance, led by the able chair, Captain Ali Roba, was able to bring all these players together, brought in Treasury, brought in the intergovernmental agencies, brought in the Council of Governors, and ensured that the money which was supposed to have been released to county governments by Treasury has been released, and these projects do not continue stalling. One of my biggest pet peeves, Madam Speaker, is that every time we pass budgets, we allocate funds, those funds are never released. So by the time a project is being done, the cost of doing that project has already changed. You know, something that you had budgeted to build with about 1.8 billion shillings end up costing about 3 billion shillings just because of dilly-dallying. So it is imperative to note the success of the Senate in ensuring that there is an alternative arrangement to be able to complete these projects. I hope that we can be able to do this, to let this cut across all projects which are either co-funded by the county governments and the national governments. I'm sure if you traverse this country of Kenya, I bet the challenges that we're dealing with at the moment, which are normal, in any democracy, it is not strange for people to have divergence of opinions. You will find projects, particularly being done by this current administration. You will find industrial parks that they say they're setting up. You'll find stimulus program markets. And those projects, you'll either find that they are co-sponsored by the county government and the national government. But all those projects will always end up stolen. One of my biggest concerns is that a project is designed, the cost is calculated, we agree that the national government is going to give about 1.2 billion, but they don't give that money. The county governments proceed and they budget for that money. But if the certificates are issued and the contractors are paid, they will only complete the project to the level of payment. So I think it is important that in future, what this committee did can be done on all projects which are co-funded by both the national government and the county government. When I go to Narok, there is a market called Tulele Market, which is, over the last 3 or 4 months, I've noted that there is a big fence that has been put by the national government. It's actually with clear ownership or seeking credit and say it's a stimulus project by the national government. But it is stalled. They went there, they put the fence, and that's about it. When you go to Narok as well, you will find an industrial park, which the national government came and said, we want to put up an industrial park. They built a fence up to this level. 3 or 4 courses abandoned and taken off. When are we going to have that discipline to say that we are starting a project and completing that project? We don't want to waste time whereby the county governments now come together and they say, Senate, help us. Can we please finish this? And then we devise a system to be able to put it in conditional grants. So I think it is imperative to note the success of this project and then learn something from it and ensure that we apply to other projects which have continued stalling. We have a project in Kakamega County where the county government were building a hospital. They started by building that hospital, saying we want to build a big level 5 hospital, and now it's just a huge white elephant project that can never be completed. And now it gets to a point where they say, we want to hand this over to the national government, for the national government to be able to do it. Why? Honestly, why should we be doing that? Where is this money that is kept aside somewhere by the national government to be able to handle all the failed projects? Why don't we not prioritize? Currently, we are talking about bringing discipline into this country, fiscal discipline. We're trying to make sure that we better services for Kenyans. The fight out there, Governor, Senator Mandago, it is not that the Gen Z wants to be president or they want to be senators or they want to be cabinet secretaries. What they're saying is that we want services, provided to us. We want roads built for us. There's no point of us saying that we have billions and billions of shillings, yet we cannot finish even a single project. I think this is a wake-up call. And although we are commending on a project that has already taken off, the train has already left the station, and all these people have already agreed. My hope is that if at all in any of those 5 counties, those headquarters are not completed, at least when we come and discuss this here in the Senate under conditional grants, we can then be able to allocate more funds, because what the county governments have done and what the Senate Committee on Finance has done is something that really should be commended. And I commend the chair for having taken the initiative. Don't come and talk about projects that have already been completed. Now, finally, as I wrap up, now that we seem to be trying to make sense and to have things work in this country, because, this country is greater than all of us. We are all like a passing cloud. All of us will just come, go, die, and we're forgotten. I think it's about time that we rethink about everything, all the policies, how we do things, and we have sort of like the future at a glance. In everything we do, we ask ourselves, do we want to leave this country a better place than we found it, or do we just want to line our pockets, and only worry about ourselves? It's imperative that we think about the SDGs, particularly SDG number 16, which talks about accountability, and it is very current, Madam Speaker. All these things that are happening today, people are concerned about equality, they are concerned about accessibility of services, they are concerned about good laws. When we draft these laws, let us draft laws that will be able to assist this country, be able to stand strong. We have a big challenge. But at the moment, I want to call upon every Kenyan to really think of solutions, but not always just think of, lamenting. It is good to lament, but if you lament and you give a solution, it will eventually end up helping us. As we grapple with the new Kenya, I hope that all of us can be able to give reason a chance, that we can be able to not only talk about the top, but also go down and deal with the issues of counties. There's a lot of misappropriation of funds in counties. A lot of misappropriations of funds in counties. It is about time, Madam Speaker, that we realign our own existing resources. We build our own economies. We have got perfect examples. Look at a country like Burkina Faso, Madam Speaker. Burkina Faso, currently, the major industry that you have in Burkina Faso is simply peanuts productions, njugu karanga. And the current leadership of that country is really changing things. These appellants sometimes does not really help build an economy. So since we have been given an opportunity to serve, at the time when we are serving this country, let us remember that Kenya will always stand. Kenya will always be there. So whatever we do it to better the services. I hope that the Chair of Finance can now look at all these other projects, the industrial parks, which are co-shared by the national government and the county governments. In Narok, we had one where KCC was given land to be able to build a plant. Apart from the time when they came there to do the handover, nothing has ever been done. We are now going into another financial year. I think it's also imperative, Madam Speaker, that the Chair of Finance looks at budgets of each and every county government to see whether those budgets are carried forward, or at least those projects are completed. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, we had a motion that we passed in this House. And even though we don't have an implementation committee, I hope that we can, as senators elected, can be able now to go through and see if the control of budget, if Treasury, and if the county government received the motion, the resolution of this House, and implement it in terms of pending bills. Payment of pending bills, Madam Speaker, if the Chair of Finance can be able to take over, because even though it was a motion brought by a private member, it was resolved by the entire Senate. To be able to go through and say, this was a resolution of the Senate, we want to know whether you've been able to pay all the pending bills that are supposed to be paid. Because if pending bills are paid, then we will not find a situation where Treasury will not release the money to complete the projects. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I thank you and I support.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Tabitha Mutinda. I believe this motion was moved by the chair. You're the one who moved. Who moved it? Because Senator Tabitha, can you confirm whether you had moved this motion? It was Senator Tabitha who had moved on behalf of the chair, so I'll have Senator Peris Tobiko to proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity to contribute to this debate. Madam Speaker, let me support the report by the Finance Committee on the status of implementation of projects that have been funded by the conditional grant for the construction of county headquarters. Madam Speaker, we had a chance to visit, but before I say that, let me say, Madam Speaker, basically what this report is telling us is that money was allocated close to 2 billion. I was looking at it, over the years, close to 2 billion on these projects or these county headquarters of around 5 counties, Madam Speaker. And we have nothing to show for it because they've not been completed. It's a very sad state of affairs, Madam Speaker. That is the county of Lamu, Nyandarua, Isiolo, Tana River, and Tharaka Nithi. Madam Speaker, at this moment in our country, when you tell Kenyans close to 2 billion was used to construct some white elephants that have not been put into use, then even the anger and the outrage is just fueled, Madam Speaker, which is a very sad situation, Madam Speaker. And it gets justified. You now get justification for the anger that is out there, for public resources that we cannot show what good use they were put in, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I began by saying we had a chance as the Devolution Committee to visit Tharaka Nithi. And Madam Speaker, it's a sorry state of affairs in Tharaka Nithi. The county headquarters have not even started, apart from digging off the foundation. The county assembly headquarters, the building for the county government is also not completed, Madam Speaker. And so the county assembly, Madam Speaker, in some mabati structure, and what they use as a lounge is they do operate under trees. It's a very sad affair, Madam Speaker, very shameful and unfortunate, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, but the issues that we came across when we visited Tharaka Nithi is that there were audit queries. EACC is handling the case. And so once the case is with EACC, then there is a back and forth communication and accusations and counter accusations. And the project has then not been able to take off to date, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, and that brings me to another issue, that we have, if we were to do an assessment and take stock of the many projects that have audit queries, that now have EACC files and EACC trying to handle them, Madam Speaker, or even EACC has completed but has not given a go-ahead for the counties to complete, Madam Speaker. Across the country, there are so many projects, Madam Speaker. And this House may need to take stock, because EACC cannot also now become an impediment for the transformation that we want across the country. They can do their investigation, but we cannot have open-ended investigations that are never concluded. They must be concluded. Several projects, Madam Speaker, that have not been completed because they have audit queries or EACC is handling the matter. EACC cannot be, a situation in perpetuity that cannot end, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, EACC is there to investigate, get reports, and get court cases going on, Madam Speaker. But they don't. They don't, Madam Speaker. And so, EACC has also turned out to become another monster in the country. It is not possible that we have problems in every institution, so this institution creates problems into this other institution, and then now we get into a vicious circle, Madam Speaker, of non-compliance, non-completion, and, Madam Speaker, public resources continues to get wasted, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, and so I would urge this House that we take stock of the many projects that are pending in our counties, because EACC has, stalled the projects because of queries that are open-ended and cannot be completed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the majority leader has spoken, and it is true, about wastage in this country, Madam Speaker, and this is one of the issues that the young demonstrators have mentioned over and over again, about wastage of public resources, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, I will tell you something else that is annoying Kenyans. Madam Speaker, and I hope this will go to the ears of those, of all the decision makers in this country, this House included, the National Assembly included, the Presidency included, Madam Speaker. We must all listen, because, Madam Speaker, one of the other things that is becoming a time bomb in this country, and I know I have said it in the floor of this House severally, and I will continue saying it, because even if it won't help in anything, Madam Speaker, at least I will have satisfied myself that I said it. Madam Speaker, the inequalities in this country, is a time bomb, Madam Speaker. It's a time bomb. It makes me sad every day to imagine that a Kenyan can have qualifications but may never get to see into a certain office just because of the ethnic tag, Madam Speaker. I remember one time we left the National Assembly as a caucus from those of us from our counties, and we went to lobby and to make a case for a person who was a deputy governor of Central Bank then. And we believed he had all the qualifications, and the international markets were rating him well, Madam Speaker. and the country. And I mean, there was no reason why he would not have risen to be a governor of central bank. But he couldn't. He couldn't, of course. It couldn't be allowed. He cannot, because he comes from a minority community, and so the minorities will continue to get marginalized. It is annoying, Madam Speaker, and no wonder, just no wonder, the young generation that is calling themselves tribalists will send all of us packing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, whenever I use the roads going to our home, Madam Speaker, it saddens me. You know, I can see my neighbor, Senator Agnes, the good senator for Machakos, is smiling because she knows this is a story I say every day. It's annoying. It's annoying, Madam Speaker, that we have no roads, but we are the closest to Nairobi. Madam Speaker, from my home, I take like 3 hours to reach Nairobi. Yet, it's a place that would actually be 20-30 minutes drive if our roads were good. The other day when we had the cabinet secretary around the Senate, when he was coming to answer questions, unfortunately for me, he didn't get a chance to respond to my questions before the dissolution of cabinet. I actually went to beg him. And I told him, right now, we are even begging, even just for Maram. And if you cannot do Maram, we are even begging for just grading. Because we don't have roads. And this is across the county, Madam Speaker. And it's not just Kajiado County. I know those counties in the north that have problems of insecurities, one of the major contributors is the lack of infrastructure, Madam Speaker. The lack of necessary infrastructure, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, whereas in some other counties, Madam Speaker, there are tarmac roads. Everybody will leave Nairobi in the evening, go home, come tomorrow morning. They'll have taken care of their cows. They'll have taken care of their chicken. They'll have seen their old parents, and they come back home. They come back to Nairobi, do the job, go back home in the luxury and comfort of their vehicles and good roads, Madam Speaker. Are we all Kenyans? Will we remain this way? And for how long? For how long? No wonder the anger, no wonder the frustration. It may just look odd, Madam Speaker, but I don't want to say it. But sometimes we feel like joining them because of the frustration, because of, feeling you are treated like less of Kenyans, less deserving, children of a lesser God. Because we must beg and beg. And the sad part is some of us, when we go back to our communities, we are told, lakini si nyinyi ndio serikali. I don't know how to answer. Sisi ndio serikali. But some of these fruits are too high up for us to reach and bring them down. Can't bring a road, can't bring power, can't bring a hospital, can't bring nothing, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, let me just say, besides the fact that some projects receive money and don't get completed because of, and in Tharaka-Nithi, Madam Speaker, we were told it is the ministry that is doing this project. It's not the county government that was doing this project. It's a ministry. The ministry has the engineers. The ministry has all the experts on board. It's a ministry that is getting money from the exchequer. So why are these projects not completed? Sometimes we blame the counties when we actually shouldn't. Sometimes it's just good for us to get, to know where does the buck stop? Who is this that is not moving when they should move? Who is this who is not doing when they should be doing, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, let us all listen and open our eyes, open our ears to what these young Kenyans are saying. What these young Kenyans are saying, they don't know who is Masai, they don't know who is Kikuyu, they don't know who is Kalenjin, they don't know who is Luo, they don't know who is Kamba, they don't know who is nobody. They don't know who is Christian or Muslim. What they know is that they are Kenyans who should be enjoying services from us, from a government that they have elected. If they don't, they'll smoke all of us out of this town, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, actually, no, today I tried to post something in a family page. And the kind of response I received from my own child, I was like, hey, wait, it's not me. You know? And I was being told, fix NHIF. Fix the public hospitals, employ the interns. I don't know, do what? And I'm like, I wish I could. I'm not the one who does that. But, my friend, the kind of things we are being told, even in our houses, and I'm sure, Madam Speaker, you are being told the same thing. I know we are all going through it. We have these children in our houses and they are telling us, Madam Speaker. I was telling them, hey, wait, me, you know, I just need a few more years in active public life, and I dash to go take care of my cows. Opportunity.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mwinyi Haji Mohamed Faki.
Asante Bispika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia ripoti ya kamati ya fedha kuhusiana na miradi ambayo ni ya kujenga makao makuu ya kaunti za Lamu, Tana River, Tharaka na Isiolo. Mheshimiwa Spika, pamoja na Nyandarua, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, miradi hii ilianzwa wakati wa awamu ya kwanza ya serikali za kaunti. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, mpaka sasa tuko kwa awamu ya 3, miradi hii yakamilika. Hiyo inamaanisha kwamba muda mrefu umepotea, rasilimali nyingi zimepotea kwa sababu ya kucheleweshwa kwa ukamilishaji wa miradi hiyo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Ripoti, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni ya kuungwa mkono kwa sababu imeweza kusimamisha utepetevu ambao ulikuwa unaendelea katika kukamilisha miradi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, ikumbukwe kwamba serikali ilikuwa imejitolea kulipia asilimia fulani ya mradi huo, asilimia 70 ya mradi, na kaunti zenyewe zilikuwa zilipie asilimia 30. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia ripoti tutaona kwamba serikali ndio imechelewesha ukamilishaji wa miradi hii, kwa sababu wakati serikali za kaunti zilikuwa zinatoa mchango wake wa asilimia 30, serikali ya kuu ilikuwa inashindwa kupeleka pesa hizo kwa wakati, hivyo basi kusababisha kucheleweshaji kwa miradi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona pia kwamba katika sehemu nyingine kama vile Tana River, Gavana Tana River alikataa kuhudhuria vikao kadhaa vya kamati ya fedha ambavyo vilikuwa vimeitwa kusuluhisha swala hili. Nakumbuka tulikuwa na kikao kimoja hapo katika hoteli ya Jacaranda ambapo alikuja naibu wa gavana. Naibu wa gavana alipoulizwa umekuja kwa mkutano gani, akasema mimi nimesikia kuna mkutano na nikaja kuhudhuria. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, mbali na kwamba kulikuwa kuna utepetevu katika upande wa serikali, baadhi ya kaunti zetu pia, Mheshimiwa Spika, zilikuwa na utepetevu kwa sababu walikuwa hawako tayari kuendeleza miradi hii bila ule mchango wa serikali kuu. Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona kwamba kamati imependekeza kwamba sasa zile kaunti zichukue miradi hiyo na imalize, na zile pesa ambazo serikali kuu ilikuwa imetenga kwa miradi hii ziweze kupelekwa kwa haraka ili miradi isiweze kuchelewa tena. Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba maseneta wote tuunge mkono mapendekezo haya kwa sababu itamaliza haya masuala ambayo yameweza kukaa kwa zaidi ya miaka 10 sasa katika kaunti zetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna kaunti zingine ambazo zilianza nyuma kujenga makao makuu yake na zimeweza kukamilisha, wakati hizi kaunti 5 bado zinasubiri ukamilishaji wa miradi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, tutaona kwamba iwapo itakamilika miradi hii, kaunti zitaweza kuwahudumia watu wao kwa njia nzuri zaidi kuliko wanavyofanya sasa. Tukiangalia Mheshimiwa Spika, kama kwa mfano tulikwenda katika kaunti ya Isiolo katika bunge lililokwisha. Mheshimiwa Spika, tuliweza kukutana na serikali, yani serikali ya kaunti katika kantini ya polisi pale Isiolo, ambapo kulikuwa hakuna mahali ambapo serikali ile ingeweza kutenga na kukutana na maseneta na kujadili matatizo ambayo yako katika kaunti hiyo. Wewe Mheshimiwa Spika, hii ni tunaweza kuita kama ile kwa Kiingereza inaitwa wake up call, kwamba kaunti ziweze kujisimamia. Kuna masuala mengine ambayo hawawezi kuyaacha yakawa juu kama zilivyoachwa hizi makao makuu kwa muda wote huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa mfano kule kwetu Mombasa tulikuwa tunajenga mradi wa stadium. Mheshimiwa Spika, na mpaka sasa stadium ile karibu miaka 5 haijakamilika kwa sababu fedha ambazo zilitengwa hazikuweza kupatikana, na serikali mpya ya kaunti, Mheshimiwa Spika, sasa kwa miaka 2 hawajatenga pesa za kutosha kuhakikisha kwamba ule mradi unakamilishwa. Tumeona Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa mfano juzi nilikuwa nasoma ripoti ya mkaguzi mkuu ya mwaka 2022 mwaka 2023 inaonyesha kwamba milioni 600 za kaunti ya Mombasa hazikuweza kutumiwa kufikia mwisho wa mwaka tarehe 30 mwezi wa 6 mwaka uliokwisha. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatujui katika ripoti ya mwaka huu zitabakia ngapi, lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, ile milioni 600 ambayo haikutumika mwaka jana ingeingizwa katika mradi wa stadium. Mheshimiwa Spika, stadium ingekuwa imesonga mbele sana kupita vile matarajio ambayo yako. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaona kwamba serikali haziwajibiki, serikali za kaunti haziwajibiki Mheshimiwa Spika kukamilisha miradi ambayo imeanzwa na magavana waliotangulia. Na hii si kwa Mombasa peke yake Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini kaunti zote. Kwa mfano mwaka jana tulizuru mradi mmoja wa ECD kule sehemu za Chaani katika kaunti ya Mombasa, na gavana aliahidi kwamba ataweza kukamilisha ule mradi kabla ya mwaka kuisha, lakini tumeona mwaka umekwisha juzi tarehe 30 mwezi wa 6 na mradi bado haujakamilika. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, zipo tunaita zile cheche za chini kwa chini ambazo magavana wapya wanaochaguliwa hawana nia ama hawana mvuto wa kukamilisha miradi ambayo imeanzwa na serikali zilizotangulia. Mheshimiwa Spika, hili ni jambo ambalo halifai kuendelea kwa sababu miradi ile imefanywa kuinua maisha ya wananchi. Miradi ile imefanywa ni ya maendeleo, kuendeleza wananchi. Mheshimiwa Spika, miradi ile Mheshimiwa Spika ikikamilika, watu wataajiriwa kazi katika miradi ile. Lakini iwapo kwamba haitakamilika Mheshimiwa Spika, pesa zitakuwa zinakwenda kila mwaka, hali ya kwamba wananchi hawapati faida ya miradi ile. Ile tunaita Kiingereza value for money. Pesa zimetumika kwa njia ya kisawasawa na mradi unaonekana Mheshimiwa Spika haiwezi kupatikana ikiwa wale magavana walioko sasa ofisini hawatakamilisha miradi ambayo imeanzwa na magavana waliotangulia. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kumalizia, ningependa kuipongeza kamati hii kwa kuweza kutoa mapendekezo ambayo yakitekelezwa kaunti zile 5 zitaweza kupata makao makuu kwa haraka iwezekanavyo. Asante Bi Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Senator Abbas Sheikh Mohamed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to support also the report. But the Speaker, as you are aware, on the onset of the revolution, there has been a lot of, good intention from both the governments, the national government and the county governments, that a lot of money has been spent and also allocated to these counties, the 5 counties. But unfortunately, 8 years down the line, those structures are not complete. However, so much money has been spent. If you look at it, something like Lamu is about 65% complete. Tana River about 55%, Tharaka-Nithi 60%, and Nyandarua I think equally is 55%. Madam Speaker, the Committee of Devolution, which I share, have also noted this with concern. We visited Tharaka-Nithi, and it's actually unbelievable that where the county up to now have not completed the houses, the offices, and they did a very big building that I think even if they're given all the money, they will not be able to complete with that kind of money they have been allocated to. One other thing I found is that most of the assemblies in different parts of the country, of counties, are still housed in the big halls of the county councils, the direct county councils. So equally, most of our assemblies are poorly accommodated, and I think there was no plan to have assemblies to be built. I don't know, I think I will request the Finance Committee to review also, to look into it. One other thing which is actually not done is actually the houses for the governors, deputy governors, speakers are also, most of them have not been constructed. And I don't believe there's any money, because there's no additional fund for the construction of, governors' houses, deputy governors, and the speakers. And I think that's a very essential institutional housing, but some of the places have no good houses to accommodate those senior officers. And I think I will request also the same to be looked into by this House. Honourable Speaker, one other challenge we have is actually as government changes, when the first governors changed, GAD have changed, and there are new governors who came in, they tend to change their priority also. So you will see so many unfinished projects. New governors came in and they come with their own projects. And I think that is illegality of the highest order. Because what we need to do is this is actually government money, and all the projects that has started, whether it has been done by the first governor or the second governor, should be completed. And I think that is also one thing that we need to compel the incumbent governors, that they should not start new projects when other projects have not been completed. Actually, when we went to Turkana Mashanani, during the Mashanani, Senate Mashanani, I was surprised. There are so many projects that have stalled. That was done by the previous government. And when we summoned the governor, for the committee summoned the incumbent governor, they had almost 400 installed projects. So you see, this is actually a deliberate move. One other thing is, Madam Speaker, for the Tharaka-Nithi, I think it has an audit issue. The anti-corruption guys have stopped the project because of, when they were giving out during the initial planning, it is actually estimated. And I think the contractor overestimated the project. And as they started, it was stopped by the anti-corruption. But however, when we inquired from the anti-corruption, they denied it. The county government is denying it. So I think we need to investigate more on what is going on in the Tharaka-Nithi. Because even the assembly actually is living in a makeshift. One other thing, Madam Speaker, is that as the years proceed, today the building maybe that was costing about 100 million shillings. By today, it will cost about 1 billion shillings. Because of the implication of the cost, the increase of cost. One other thing is actually I've seen is that a big challenge is the availability of suitable sites. You see, like Lamu now, they want to build a house, obviously in Fast Island. They want to build one in Makoy, the mainland. So the priorities also changed. There's also a diversion of funds. Because the counties are supposed to contribute 30%, and they change their priorities. So when the national government actually gives out the money, the part for the counties actually always are missing. So I think we need also to enforce that counties, for them to get the condition, the money, for the condition, shareable account money, then they should also contribute the 30%. You see, there is something like Elgeyo Marakwet. In the past, the time when they have been looking at the availability of offices, Elgeyo Marakwet had the good offices, they said, but now Elgeyo Marakwet now has said again, those offices are not enough, and they won't change their priorities. Therefore, I think we need to relook into the issue. One of the big challenges is actually the inadequate funds by the county governments, because at times the money given to them is not enough, and then the priorities change it, and they try to build, more of, new structures like level 5 hostels, level 4 hostels, because the priority, the public now are demanding for more services, especially for hospitals and the national schools. So one other thing I'm saying is that there is actually a delay from the national government releasing funds, and as a result, the money is not released in time, or sometimes it's not been budgeted for, and they will have these kind of variations that come in. So as we move, the county's priorities change, the county assemblies houses are not being built, the governor's house is not built, and therefore, I think it's not only the headquarters, but of course the many facilities has not been done. And therefore, the IGITC, actually all the unbundled functions, facilities are not available. The national government actually unbundled functions, and the functions, when they're unbundled, the money does not fall in time, and most of this, libraries and all these things, you see some places there are no libraries, and the money has been released. So I think it's an oversight on the side of the IGRTC. We need to sell the IGRTC before the functions are unbundled. Then I think we need to look into, and the costings must be done, because actually most of the times what we avoid to do is the costings are not done, but they only unbundle the functions, and then by the time the county receives these functions, there are not even offices for the officers who have been transferred from the national government. There are no housings, and therefore I think there are many challenges during these times of devolution, and therefore the Senate has to redo and revalue all the functions that has been unbundled, and that has been moved to the counties, and therefore when there's any function that is going to be unbundled, then we must have also the costings of those functions. With those remarks, I beg to support the report. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Abbas. And Senator Agnes Mudhama Kavindu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to, first of all, congratulate the Committee for Finance and Budget for this report that they've given about the 5 counties that were not able to complete their project, especially this for conditional grant money. Madam Speaker, I understand this project was supposed to be funded by the government 70% and the counties 30%. And definitely if the national government did not give all the 70% of the monies that they were supposed to give, definitely the counties could not have completed the projects with the 30% that they were supposed to contribute. And so I would urge the national government to release the monies that were supposed to release to the counties so that they can complete the project, as we also accuse the EACC for not taking action on the people they are saying that they were overcharging on the projects, because if it was discovered and it is proven, then I don't see why they've not taken them to court and they answer those questions. Madam Speaker, it is not only these 5 counties. Across the counties, in Machakos, I have like 3 dams which were supposed to be funded by the government. And they've been stalled for so many years. And the funds, when they inquire about the funds were there, but they were diverted to other projects. This diverting of monies meant to be for certain projects by the national government and even the county governments is storing a lot of projects in the counties. And so I would ask that, the Committee of Finance and Budget and Control of Budget also to be involved in this diversion of monies, because when the projects, when the counties are giving out the projects, they have money that they have received from the Controller of Budgets. And so if this money is diverted to other projects, then those projects are stalled. We have so many projects that are stalled across the counties. Madam Speaker, I would request that the Senate stand together and demand for counties to complete all the stalled projects from the former governors to date, so that, because that is money lying idle, taxpayers' money, and that money is not being used by the taxpayers, because the projects that were meant to be completed and was meant to be used by them are not completed. Two, there must be equality, like one of the senators of Kajiado has said. There is no equality in giving out these big projects across the country from the national government. So we also demand that there will be equality and inclusivity in even giving out of jobs in national government and even in the count governments, so that we will not have the issues and the problems that we are having with the agencies of lack of jobs. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Senator Kavindo. Senator Madago Jackson, Kiplagat.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I rise to support the report by the Finance Committee, Honorable Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, in this report, we are looking at the challenges the counties have gone through in completing those projects, most of which, Madam Speaker, arise because of delay in disbursement of the conditional grants to counties. And Honorable Speaker, I want to thank this Senate for passing the conditional allocation bill, which is now an act of parliament, that will now make it easy for follow-up of funds to be released. Madam Speaker, during the period under review, there were a lot of challenges in getting Treasury to disperse the funds that were actually allocated and meant for counties. Because the National Treasury, as currently structured, Madam Speaker, still behaves and lives in a manner to suggest they belong to national government, but at will and pleasure serve counties in their spare time, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, that is not what was envisaged in the Constitution. If you look at our Constitution, Article 225, Madam Speaker, we still need to revisit, as Parliament, that article and relook into the Public Finance Act in order to make the Treasury a national treasury and not a national government treasury, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, having said that, the National Public Works, which was charged with the responsibility of design, supervision, and management of the projects, Madam Speaker, I'm afraid I've also contributed to the failures of completion of those projects, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you look at the bill of quantities generated by Public Works, compared with the actuals in the market, Madam Speaker, you would find that the bills of quantities are always inflated by Public Works. Madam Speaker, you will recall in this country, the government decided to embrace TVET education, and in that process decided that they are going to build a TVET in a TTI in every constituency in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when Public Works was asked to design a model TTI that would be used to build in all the constituencies, Madam Speaker, their cost came to close to 150 to almost 200 million, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when Rift Valley Technical Training Institute, through the principal, Dr. Tarno, Madam Speaker, was asked to do the same design and produce the bill of quantities, Madam Speaker, you'll be surprised that those TTIs were constructed at a cost of 50 million. Therefore, even as we address the issues of disbursement, we must also address the issues of costing of those projects. Madam Speaker, the issue of stalled projects in counties will not only be accounted for by the lack of disbursement from National Treasury. Sometimes the stalling of projects in counties is also caused by the same county governments, Madam Speaker. Particularly when there is transition, Madam Speaker, you would find the new administration will begin new projects. But it must be understood, Madam Speaker, that all the functions county governments undertake are clearly spelled out in the fourth schedule of the Constitution. Therefore, there is no county administration that will do or initiate projects outside the functions that have been devolved. What we are seeing, Madam Speaker, is actually duplication. You will find in our county a level 5 facility was being developed. It was at 70% when there is change of administration, and the new administration decides they are going to build another level 4 or level 5 facility elsewhere, abandoning a level 5 facility that was 70-80% complete, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I would want to urge this House that probably it is time we review the County Government Act to provide for a law or amendments to make sure that during transition, there is a complete assessment of the status of projects in every county and a report submitted to Senate. And the first budget of the new administration, Madam Speaker, should be compared with the report that has been passed by Parliament just to ensure that there are no stalled projects, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, new administrations have also been hiding under a cover and very popular term of pending bills, Madam Speaker. I do get surprised myself in my own county, Madam Speaker, when I find the governor telling members of the public that, you know, there was a pending bill of, I don't know, 700 or what, and my colleague chairs were in my county for a conference last time, and when we visited the governor for a courtesy call, he also alluded for the same, Madam Speaker. I intend to bring a statement to this House so that the Committee of Finance can go and investigate the alleged pending bills in the county government of Uasin Gishu, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as far as I'm concerned, because I was the governor of that county, there were no pending bills in my county.